What a fun day I'm having. I have been practicing swimming for a few days now. And you know what? I have been struggling with my practice and I'm yet to learn how to breathe properly while I swim. It made me think of all the people who explore deep seas, climb the mountains or travel to space. And I have seen one thing common between them. Can you guess what it is? Well, did you get it? Okay, let me give you a hint. They always carry this one thing along with them. Nah, I'm not talking about food or water. It's oxygen cylinders. But why do they carry it? Mountaineers need oxygen cylinders because the oxygen level decreases as they climb higher and higher. Now you know that oxygen is really important for organisms to survive. But if oxygen is that important for survival, how do the underwater organisms survive? Is there oxygen underwater? Or do they also carry oxygen cylinders? I have never seen them with any cylinders, have you? Okay, let me tell you their trick. Actually, there is dissolved oxygen in water which is used by the living organisms underwater. You don't believe that there is oxygen dissolved in water? Let's figure out together. We'll need some water here in this beaker, some wire gauze, a tripod stand and a spirit lamp. Now, let me set it up. Now, let us light the spirit lamp. Now, we'll place this spirit lamp under the tripod. And remember, do this experiment only in the presence of an adult. Hey, look closely. Something is happening in the beaker. There are tiny bubbles at the bottom of it. Where are these bubbles coming from? Any guesses? Actually, these bubbles are formed because the dissolved air tries to come out in the form of bubbles when water is heated. So now that we know that the aquatic organisms use the oxygen which is dissolved in water for breathing, this makes me wonder, if there is oxygen in water, then shouldn't you and me be able to breathe under it, right? But why can't we do that? It's because you and I have completely different system for breathing as compared to aquatic organisms. Humans have lungs that help us to breathe on land. Fishes use gills that help them to breathe underwater. By talking about fishes, imagine the fishes swimming in an aquarium. Have you seen one? All aquariums have a machine in them which keeps on releasing bubbles in the water. What's that called? Well, it is an aerator. Now you might be thinking, what is the need for it? Do fishes like popping bubbles too? Well, no. The fishes in the aquarium use up the dissolved oxygen from the water. Aerator keeps on dissolving more oxygen in the water, which can be seen in the form of bubbles released by it. So now you know that deep sea divers have oxygen tanks and aquatic animals have dissolved gas in water that allow them to go deep in water. Like deep sea divers and mountaineers, miners also carry oxygen tanks whenever they go deep into the earth. That is because there is not enough oxygen present deep inside the earth. Now you know that miners take oxygen cylinders, but what about organisms which live under soil? Like earthworms? Just like water, do soils have dissolved oxygen as well? Or is there something else? No need to worry. I will disclose their secret of breathing under soil. Well, the oxygen is not dissolved in the soil, but is trapped along with the air into tiny gaps found in it, and oxygen from this trapped air is taken by organisms living under it. Do we have any way to look for trapped air in the soil? Yes, I have an activity for this which you can also try. All we need is some soil and a glass of water. Now, let us pour this water slowly in the soil until it rises to the level of the soil. Now, I want you to carefully observe the bubbles forming on the surface of water. These bubbles are forming because when we pour water, it starts filling the tiny gaps and spaces in the soil while the air tries to come out in the form of bubbles. Have you seen earthworms coming out in rain? It is because water fills inside the gaps of soil due to which they come out to breathe. Now I'm thinking, is oxygen only used for breathing and survival of organisms? Or is there another use of it as well? Yes, apart from life, oxygen helps in burning. So next time when you see something burning, you will remember that oxygen is helping it to do so. Imagine the amount of oxygen needed to support all the number of living organisms on this planet. Okay, so oxygen is really important for the organisms of Earth. Can you guess where all this oxygen comes from? The answer lies around us. Plants. How do plants give oxygen? I will tell you that because plants are never going to speak up. So, the plants first inhale carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. Then these elements are processed together inside the plant along with sunlight and chlorophyll. And finally, the plant exhales oxygen that we all use. And this whole process is known as photosynthesis. Interesting, right? So, let's have a quick recap. All organisms need oxygen to survive. Organisms who live on the surface breathe in oxygen through air. The oxygen level falls as the altitude increases. Oxygen is also dissolved in water, which is used by aquatic animals. Organisms who live underground breathe using the oxygens trapped in the soil. And finally, oxygen is provided by plants and trees by the process of photosynthesis. Like deep-sea divers rely on oxygen tanks, astronauts that go for spacewalks also use oxygen tanks. Imagine a scenario where humans live on Mars. How would we breathe there? Think about it and remember, we stay curious.